She was just leaving her job, tired but proud, when the car pulled up beside her. A stranger shouted, pointed, and suddenly, her world turned upside down. Hands she didn't know grabbed at her, accusing her of things she never did. In that moment, she wasn't just a person. She became a target of a system that sees her as other, a victim of a prejudice older than memory. Every step she took could decide her fate. What happens when the world treats you as guilty before you even speak? But this was only the beginning of a nightmare she never saw coming. It was a quiet Saturday morning, and Maya was walking home from the local market, just like she had every weekend for years. She carried a small bag of groceries, her steps light, her mind on the dinner she planned to cook for her family. The neighborhood looked familiar, peaceful, nothing out of the ordinary. Children played in yards, neighbors waved from porches, and the sun glinted off the pavement. But today, something was different. From the corner of her eye, she noticed a car slowing down, idling a little too long, as if studying her. A pit formed in her stomach, though she tried to ignore it. This was the path she'd walked 1,000 times. Why did it suddenly feel like a trap? And in the seconds that followed, she would discover that familiarity could be deceiving, and that her ordinary life was about to be shattered. She thought she was safe, but what waited for her would push her courage and resilience to the limit. As Maya quickened her steps, the car followed, its engine humming low, almost deliberately. The windows were tinted, hiding the faces inside, but she could feel their eyes on her, sharp and invasive. Her heart pounded as she clutched her groceries tighter, wishing she'd left earlier, wished she'd called someone, wished she wasn't alone. Every instinct screamed at her that something was wrong, that this wasn't just a random car, this was targeted, calculated. She turned onto a narrower street, hoping to shake them, but the car slowed, matching her pace, inch by inch, like a predator stalking prey. Maya could feel the tension building in her chest, the warmth of fear creeping through her body. She passed neighbors' houses, most doors closed, most eyes elsewhere. No one noticed, or maybe no one wanted to. The weight of isolation hit her harder than the fear itself. Then it happened. A man stepped out from behind the car, plain clothes, but the badge dangling loosely from his belt caught the morning light. His voice was calm, almost polite. "Ma'am, you need to step over here." Maya froze. She didn't know what authority this man had, but instinct told her he had none, and yet his posture, the way he carried himself, demanded obedience. She shook her head, hoping her refusal would buy her time, but the other 2 men appeared, flanking him. Their eyes were cold, sharp, measuring her reaction like a game. Maya's stomach turned. Every horror story she'd heard about harassment, profiling, abuse, every one of them came rushing to life in those moments. "You're making this difficult," the first man said. Maya's voice trembled as she replied, "I haven't done anything. You have no right." Her words seemed insignificant, swallowed by the oppressive air around her. The men exchanged looks, then closed in. Panic rose like a tidal wave, but Maya forced herself to breathe, to steady her shaking hands. Her mind raced. Her family, her life, her dignity, everything was on the line. She remembered the countless times society told her to stay quiet, don't make a scene, just comply. But today, she couldn't comply. She couldn't let fear dictate her actions when the injustice was so raw, so blatant. One of the men reached toward her arm. Her muscles tensed, every nerve screaming, and then she remembered, her phone. She raised it, recording. The flash of red rec glinting on the screen was like a small shield against the looming threat. The men hesitated. One muttered something under his breath, frustration flickering in his eyes. They were professionals in their deception, but they weren't prepared for courage, and for a moment, Maya saw hesitation replace their confidence. She took a step forward, steady, deliberate. Her fear was still there, sharp as ever, but beneath it, something else surged, defiance. They had underestimated her. The car door slammed behind them, breaking the silence. Maya turned to see a neighbor holding his phone, recording the scene from a safe distance. The men's faces shifted from smugness to alarm. This wasn't going as planned. Her heart pounded, but hope flickered. The tension, the fear, the injustice, it had all reached a boiling point. And just as she thought she might have a moment to breathe, a siren wailed in the distance. The sound cut through the morning like a blade, freezing everyone in place. The next moments would decide everything, her safety, her dignity, and whether justice would finally arrive. The siren cut through the tension like a knife, but the men in plain clothes didn't flinch. They advanced, their smirks returning, convinced they could intimidate her into compliance. Maya's pulse pounded in her ears as she backed toward the curb, phone still recording, her hands shaking but steady. Every instinct screamed to run, to escape, but she knew fleeing wouldn't protect her dignity, her story, or the truth. One of them stepped closer, reaching for her arm again, and anger surged through her. She could feel years of oppression, of being underestimated, of being treated as less than, boiling into every fiber of her body. This was the moment everything hung in the balance. Her safety, her voice, her life's quiet rhythm shattered into chaos. The neighbor's camera caught everything. The men froze, a flicker of doubt crossing their eyes for the first time. Maya raised her phone higher, her hand steady despite the fear coursing through her. "You think you control this," she imagined saying aloud, though her voice was silent, "but the world is watching now." Then from the distance, the real uniforms appeared, police cars rounding the corner, lights flashing but engines quiet, moving slow, deliberate. The three imposters looked to one another, panic slowly replacing their bravado. Their carefully rehearsed intimidation had failed. The tension was electric, a knife edge stretching every second. Maya felt the weight lift just slightly, but not completely. She wasn't safe yet. The men made a move, reckless, desperate, and that was all it took. Officers stepped in, swift, commanding, and the chaos erupted. Shouts, commands, footsteps. Her fear and adrenaline collided, but underneath it all, relief began to thread through her heart. The injustice, the danger, the raw unfairness of being targeted simply for who she was. Finally, it would meet consequences. Her hands still trembling, Maya lowered her phone for the first time and felt the enormity of what had just happened. The worst of it had passed, but the memory, the fear, the anger, it would stay with her forever. She realized that standing her ground, even when the world seemed against her, had changed the trajectory of everything. She thought she might breathe now, but the question lingered, heavy and impossible to ignore. What would it take for the world to stop seeing her as a target and start seeing her as human? When the imposters were finally led away, Maya's knees felt weak, her chest tight from the rush of fear and adrenaline that had gripped her for what felt like hours. The street, once tense with danger, was quiet again, but the weight of what had happened didn't vanish. She held her phone close, knowing every second of the ordeal was captured, proof of a truth many still refused to see. Her heart still raced, but a small spark of relief glimmered. She had survived, she had stood her ground, and she had been seen. Yet the relief was tempered by anger and sorrow. How could it be that in the 21st century, a person could be singled out and threatened simply for the color of their skin, their identity, their existence? Maya realized this was bigger than one street, one incident, one family. It was a mirror of a society that too often judged before it understood, that too often criminalized the innocent while those in power remained unchecked. As she walked home, the sun now high in the sky, Maya reflected on the quiet strength that had carried her through. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. And while justice had arrived this time, countless others faced similar moments in silence, unseen, unheard, unprotected. Her story, captured on her phone and in the hearts of witnesses, was more than personal. It was proof, a reminder, a call. A call to question, to confront, to change. How many more would have to face this before the world truly listened? How many more lives would be interrupted, threatened, or broken by bias and ignorance? Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward, her footsteps steady now, carrying a quiet, unshakable truth. Standing up against injustice may not erase fear, but it can spark change. And change, once begun, can no longer be silenced.